Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you both for being here. As we all know, we're in dire straits right now. Iowa's now had increasing unemployment claims for 6 straight weeks. And of course, I'd like to remind everybody that we need to pay attention to the level of unemployment, not just the direction. This is all happening when week after week we see initial claims higher than the worst that we saw in the Great Recession. That's 36 weeks in a row where we've seen record unemployment claims across this country. Meanwhile, the Century Foundation recently estimated 12 million people would lose their unemployment benefits the day after Christmas if we don't act. That seems very terrible for this country. Chairman Powell, what are the economic impacts of removing that support at a time when this recovery is so fragile?
So this is if the unemployment programs run out and expire at the end of the year. We would be concerned that the unemployment rate for people in the bottom quartile, for example, is about 20% still. And those are people with relatively low savings, low wealth. And we would be concerned that they'd be vulnerable to, losing their houses or their rental and just be in a very difficult place. So we think that's an appropriate place to look for further help.
Well, I appreciate that. As we all know, 1 in 8 Americans are going hungry. More than 3 million businesses have closed, and we're approaching 100,000 people now hospitalized with COVID. So I'm wondering for either one of you, does seeing this kind of need and the discussion that we've had today show the importance of passing another COVID aid package? And how quickly do we need to get that done?
I would just urge, as the Secretary has done, that this is a good time. This would really help the economy through these winter months and beyond. And we can see the vaccines coming, but we have a bit more of the bridge to build. And I think it would be very important for the economy to receive that help.
And then I would agree with that, as I've echoed.
Thank you. And Secretary Mnuchin, I did want to discuss the CDC's eviction moratorium that currently expires on December 31st. A study recently showed 430,000 cases of COVID and more than 10,000 deaths are due to lifting the earlier state and local eviction moratorium. Are there plans to extend that to possibly protect 10 million households from eviction this January?
Well, I think, as you know, that wasn't our first choice. Our first choice was really assistance to those people. But I will discuss that with the president and extending it. And Chair Waters, I have been speaking to the president every day and updating him on the state of the negotiations. He would like us to see additional funding.
Thank you. I hope we can get that done quickly. We don't have so that we don't have a 20-day gap here where millions of people are going to get evicted. So please get back to us and the chairwoman on what we can expect from that. Thank you. I'd also like to discuss what you're doing with the $450 billion of funds for the CARES Act. I know we've had some discussion here. I'm going to set aside the question of whether or what you're doing is legal because I want to get into why you're doing this. One explanation I've seen is that because you think Congress should use this for fiscal aid, and I don't disagree with that. The problem with this, though, is that if Congress wants to reappropriate money from the Exchange Stabilization Fund, we can do that the same as we can from the general fund. So the only real difference I can see is that leaving it in the ESF makes it a heck of a lot easier for a future Treasury Secretary to use this money quickly to provide for economic support. So why are you choosing to make it harder to support the economy in the future?
I just want to clarify because there's a bunch of confusion. Whether it sits in the general account, whether it sits in the ESF, all of this is completely governed by the law. And as I've said, the chair, in deference to him, I extended the pre-CARES Act facilities. If I was looking to do something that was political, I wouldn't have extended those. My result in not extending the CARES Act is merely an administration of my obligation under this law. It doesn't matter what account it's in. That has nothing to do. The money is administered pursuant to the law. And if Congress wants to change the law, that's fine. And the reason why I believe Mitch McConnell has put some new language in isn't in my interpretation of the law. It's because many of you seem to be confused that he wants to clarify.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you, Secretary, but that's just not accurate. The CARES Act is very clear that existing investments can remain there, and that's what you've made happen with the Fed's facilities. So that answer isn't acceptable. Why are you looking for a way not to help American people right now? This isn't your money, it's taxpayer money, and it should be quickly available to American people right now when we need the help. So I see you undermining the American people on your way out the door. You need to reverse this decision so that these programs can keep supporting
The
people.
gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you for your service, and I yield back.